Roger, roll, Challenger.
T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have main engine start and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
In the midst of a complicated web of problematic O-rings, difficult weather conditions, and unsettling premonitions surrounding the Challenger Space Shuttle,
reports from the flight dynamics officer indicate that the vehicle apparently exploded.
What? The vehicle has exploded.
it seemed that there were additional frightening details that were known only to a select few engineers that were involved in its construction. These engineers possessed key insights that remained a top secret until now. And despite NASA's awareness of some of these insights, why did the agency refrain from intervening? And what else possibly remains hidden about the Challenger? Join us as we unravel the worst part of the Challenger disaster and how it isn't what you think it is. The O-ring, the Challenger Space Shuttle, part of NASA's Space Shuttle program, was first launched on April 4, 1983. Throughout its operational history, it completed a total of 9 successful missions. Tragically, on January 28, 1986, the Challenger disintegrated just 70 T-abri seconds into its 10th mission, resulting in the loss of the entire crew. This tragic fate unfolded against the backdrop of an intricate narrative involving a faulty O-ring seal in one of its booster rockets, a dangerous dance with fiery gases, and a series of strong warnings that were pointedly overlooked, resulting in a tragic consequence. The rubber O-rings, meticulously designed to withstand the rigors of liftoff, succumbed to the unexpected, catching fire during testing. The Rogers Commission report laid bare a startling revelation. Engineers at both NASA and Morton Thiokol acknowledged the vulnerability of the O-rings, deeming the situation undesirable yet somehow acceptable. It was a reckless compromise that would prove devastating. The narrative deepens with a foreboding 1977 test exposing another layer of weakness. The rocket's ignition, meant to usher in a controlled inward motion of the steel casing, instead pushed parts outward, exerting undue pressure on the O-rings. The design, heralded as a technological marvel, began to unveil its flaws. The unsung heroes, the engineers who recognized the imminent peril, step in. In October 1977, one courageous voice denounced the existing design as unacceptable. By January 1978, another emphatically insisted on a redesign, foreseeing the looming specter of catastrophic failures fueled by hot gas leaks. Yet, against the height of warnings, no amendments were made. The wake-up call came after the Space Shuttle Columbia's mission in November 1981, unveiling a haunting erosion of one of its primary O-rings. Astonishingly, this revelation failed to trigger the much-needed course correction. Subsequent missions, each a gambit with fate, continued to bear witness to O-ring damage. The story is etched with a sorrowful lesson, wrapped in the stark acknowledgement. We learned that little things that seem harmless can become catastrophic events. The Challenger tragedy stands as a testimony to the fact the consequences of overlooking seemingly inconsequential details can be devastating. It beckons us to reflect on the profound impacts that can arise from the synergy of warnings ignored, engineering wisdom neglected, and a fatal reluctance to revise a design destined for catastrophe. Prepare for liftoff, all systems are a go, echoes the command from Mission Control, resonating through the intercom to the eager Challenger flight crew. This marks the commencement of a historical journey, the maiden voyage of the Space Shuttle. A spectacular sight unfolds as the boosters ignite, propelling the colossal 184-foot, 4.5 million-pound spacecraft into the expansive realms of space. The success of this inaugural mission sets the stage for the Challenger's universal exploits, with 6 more missions slated for the same year. Despite its reliability, the shuttle is not immune to the rigors of space travel. With each launch and subsequent re-entry, the spacecraft bears the brunt of the cosmic journey. This perpetual cycle takes a toll, demanding constant repairs to maintain peak performance. The dedicated team, similar to cosmic artisans, engages in the complex task of exchanging worn components for renewed counterparts. The shuttle, like a spacefaring phoenix, undergoes a transformative process after each venture into the unknown. The Challenger's narrative becomes a captivating saga of triumphs in space, interwoven with the careful efforts required to preserve its prowess. The cosmic ballet of liftoffs, landings, and refurbishments unfolds as a puzzling dance, highlighting the resilience and perpetual evolution of this pioneering spacecraft. A strong lesson emerged from this reluctance to address seemingly minor concerns. Those seemingly harmless elements could evolve into destructive events. The untold narrative of missed opportunities and persistent oversight during this significant period in space, exploration adds to the unfolding drama of the Space Shuttle program. Extreme weather condition. The upcoming launch was facing a weather challenge with predicted temperatures in the low 20-degree scale. In response, Alan McDonald urged his team at Thiokol to delve into the impact of cold on booster performance. To address this concern, a teleconference was arranged on the eve of the rescheduled launch, involving engineers and management from Kennedy Space Center, Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama, and Morton Thiokol in Utah. In this crucial meeting, engineers Roger Boisjoli and Arnie Thompson, aware of the importance of the opportunity, hurriedly prepared their data for presentation. During the hour-long presentation, Thiokol's engineers presented a compelling case, emphasizing that cold weather could worsen joint rotation issues and cause delayed O-ring seating. The coldest temperature O-rings had encountered in previous missions was 53 degrees Fahrenheit, recorded on the January 24, 1985 flight. With the launch's predicted ambient temperature at 26 degrees Fahrenheit, the O-rings were estimated to be at 29 degrees Fahrenheit. Following the technical presentation, Thiokol's engineering vice president Bob Lund conveyed his conclusions and recommendations. Lund highlighted that 53 degrees Fahrenheit was the only low-temperature data available for the booster's operational effects. As the boosters had experienced O-ring erosion at this temperature, Lund argued that without data below 53 degrees Fahrenheit, they couldn't definitively prove the launch was unsafe at lower temperatures. He recommended delaying the launch until the O-ring temperature reached at least 53 degrees Fahrenheit, confusing NASA managers who had specifications allowing booster operation as low as 31 degrees Fahrenheit. It later emerged that Thiokol had misunderstood the 31 degrees Fahrenheit limit for storage, with the launch temperature limit at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Marshall's solid rocket booster project manager, Larry Malloy, contested the engineers' logic, calling the data inconclusive. A heated debate ensued until Malloy turned to Joe Kilminster for a middle management decision. Despite Kilminster's engineering background, he sided with the engineers. After doubts were expressed by other Marshall managers, Kilminster called for an off-the-record meeting for Thiokol to review its data. Boisjoli and Thompson continued to advocate against the launch, but senior executive Gerald Mason insisted on a management decision. The managers seemed to believe that the O-rings could endure erosion up to 1/3 of their diameter and still seat properly, irrespective of temperature. Mason, urging Lund to switch to a management perspective, led to the formulation of a new recommendation. Kilminster, despite engineers' reluctance, presented the new stance. The cold was a safety concern, but the launch was recommended based on an inconclusive engineering assessment. McDonald, present with NASA management in Florida, objected to the recommendation. But NASA managers ultimately approved the boosters for launch, even though the predicted temperature exceeded operational specifications. As the shuttle's engines roared to life, a critical flaw unfolded. The O-ring, essential for sealing joints, was grappling with the extreme cold, rendering it incapable of proper seating. Meanwhile, the once resilient heat-resistant putty, designed to shield the O-rings from the intense fuel heat, succumbed to the frigid temperatures, collapsing under the strain. A mere 0.08 of a second after ignition, the shuttle embarked on its journey, yet ominous signs manifested. Engineering cameras honed in on the right-hand booster, revealing 9 smoke puffs emanating from the booster aft field joint. Remarkably, before the shuttle could ascend beyond the tower, oxides produced by burnt propellant briefly sealed the compromised joint, preventing immediate disaster. However, the respite was short-lived. Just 59 seconds into the flight, Challenger encountered a ferocious wind shear, unparalleled in its intensity. The delicate seal, upheld by glassy oxides, shattered under the brutal forces of the wind shear. In a devastating chain reaction, flames from the compromised field joint swiftly breached the external fuel tank. The consequences were catastrophic. Hundreds of tons of propellant erupted into a blazing fire, mercilessly tearing the shuttle apart. As the clock ticked, reaching 100 seconds into the flight, the Challenger's final telemetry data was transmitted, marking the tragic conclusion of a mission that had held so much promise and ended in unforeseen devastation. The crew was informed about the ice during their morning weather briefing, but crucially, they were not hinted at any concerns regarding the temperature's effect on the O-rings. In light of this, the mission proceeded as planned. The unfolding events set the stage for a pivotal moment in the tragic journey of the Challenger Space Shuttle. Tragic delays. The urgency to launch the Challenger gripped NASA managers for various reasons, ranging from economic concerns to political pressures, and a backlog in scheduling. Unexpected rivalry from the European Space Agency compelled NASA to demonstrate the space transportation system's reliability swiftly, aiming to showcase its cost-effectiveness and potential for commercial use. This pressured NASA into an ambitious agenda, setting a record number of missions for 1986 to substantiate its budget requests. The preceding shuttle mission, just before the ill-fated Challenger, faced unprecedented delays, grappling with unfavorable weather conditions and mechanical setbacks. The mounting obstacles and the need to prove the shuttle's capabilities in the face of international competition created a high-stakes environment, contributing to the eventual tragedy that unfolded during the Challenger's mission. The complex timeline of these delays unraveled a saddening what-if scenario, suggesting that the shuttle might have ascended into the skies under safer conditions if just one of these postponements had been averted. Originally slated for liftoff on January 22nd, the launch was promptly rescheduled to January 23rd due to scheduling ripples caused by the delay of another mission, STS-61C. The complexity of rescheduling continued as the Program Requirements Change Board decided on a new liftoff date, moving it to January 25th. However, the lingering effects of STS-61C's delay persisted, prompting another shift in Challenger's launch schedule to January 26th. The anticipation reached its peak on the eve of the revised launch date, only to be met with another setback. A forecast of wind and rain led to a precautionary postponement, a decision that later proved to be based on inaccurate predictions. Gene Thomas, the launch director for the Challenger mission, recounted with a sense of remorse. "We decided we would not launch on Sunday, and Sunday was a beautiful day. We missed an opportunity to launch. The morning of January 27th saw the Challenger's crew strapped in and prepared for the historic journey into space. However, a seemingly minor yet consequential glitch emerged. A stubborn screw refused to release from the shuttle's crew hatch, and attempts to rectify the issue with a drill were foiled by the unfortunate circumstance of a dead battery. Despite the arrival of 9 additional batteries at the launch pad, an unexplainable twist of fate rendered each one lifeless. Consequently, liftoff faced yet another setback, pushed to January 28th. A day meant to celebrate learning and achievement quickly turned into a tragic moment. It highlights how unexpected factors played a role in changing the outcome of the Challenger mission from something positive to a sad and unforeseen disaster. The disaster. On a bitterly cold yet dazzlingly clear morning at Cape Canaveral, the anticipation soared. The countdown reached its climax. 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. The 25th Space Shuttle mission embarked on its journey, gracefully clearing the towering launch pad. In those thrilling moments, all communications between the shuttle and mission control conveyed a sense of optimism. Everything appeared to be progressing smoothly, bringing relief after numerous delays that had plagued the much-anticipated flight. The engines operated at 65%, 3 fuel cells triggered, and a crucial pause preceded the throttling up of the engines to 304%. Challenger, go at throttle up. However, the elation was short-lived. Just over a minute into the flight, at minute 15 seconds, disaster struck. Velocity soared to 2,900 feet per second, the altitude in nautical miles, and the downrange distance at 9 o'clock. Mission control fell into an eerie silence before the stark report. "We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded." The flight director confirmed the fateful event, initiating efforts to consult with recovery forces. In the aftermath, time seemed to move in slow motion. A search for debris couldn't commence for about 15 minutes, during which fragments continued to rain from the sky. The head of the Space Shuttle program, bereft of explanations, only expressed profound sorrow at the tragic turn of events. At 11:40 a.m. on that fateful morning, the nation witnessed a profound tragedy. The Space Shuttle Challenger exploded approximately a minute and a half after launch from the Kennedy Space Center. Computer-enhanced video footage detailed the explosion, revealing a blast at the rear of the spacecraft, possibly around the main engines or one of the two solid rocket boosters. The shuttle transformed into a blazing fireball, casting a shadow of grief over the space program. In response, NASA mobilized a committee of eminent engineers and scientists to investigate the catastrophe thoroughly. Directives were issued to secure all records related to the flight, extending to the personal notes of every flight controller. Dan Molina, reporting for NBC News from the Johnson Space Center in Houston, conveyed the gravity of the situation and the ongoing efforts to understand the tragic incident. Engineers felt responsible. Amid fervent attempts to dissuade NASA from proceeding with the Challenger's launch on January 28th, the resolute Morton Thiokol engineer, Roger Boisjoli, reached a point of resignation and headed home. In the detailed chronicle provided by NASA Spaceflight, Boisjoli, gripped by a dangerous suspicion, initially was not inclined to witness the impending launch. Yet, the persuasive efforts of his colleague, Bob Ebeling, eventually convinced him otherwise. As the shuttle seemingly embarked on its ascent without a hitch, a collective sense of relief permeated the engineers, swiftly replaced by a chilling shock as the celestial vessel transformed into a fiery inferno. The stark reality of the catastrophic event unfolded before their eyes, leaving Boisjoli, despite his tireless efforts to avert disaster, burdened with an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the tragic demise of the 7 astronauts. A heavy sentiment shared by Ebeling. The ensuing months took a toll on Boisjoli, manifesting in both physical and emotional dimensions. He visibly shed weight and grappled with relentless headaches, insomnia, and the shadows of depression. Providing sad testimony before the Rogers Commission, Boisjoli sought legal recourse against both NASA and Morton Thiokol. Regrettably, his legal endeavors proved futile, and the fallout from these actions led to his isolation from some erstwhile colleagues, exacerbating his profound sense of despair. In a testament to resilience and redemption, Boisjoli found a path to peace. His journey took a transformative turn as he shared the profound lessons learned from the Challenger disaster with aspiring engineers in various educational institutions. This unselfish commitment became a cornerstone of his life until his eventual passing in January 2012, leaving behind a legacy intertwined with the complexities of human perseverance and the quest for understanding in the face of tragedy. The trapped crew. For those in the know, the parachuting nose cap might not have held much attention because the harsh reality was that the Challenger crew had no viable means of escaping the shuttle. The Rogers Commission report highlighted that Columbia had experimental ejection seats resembling those on an SR-71 Blackbird during its initial test flights when only 2 crew members were on board. However, these seats were never intended for use during actual shuttle missions, where it was assumed that all potential risks had been thoroughly identified and addressed. Surprisingly, NASA had explored comprehensive crew ejection options as early as 1971 during the shuttle's design phase. They assessed the possibility of conventional ejection seats, encapsulated seats, and an entirely detachable crew compartment. The major stumbling block, however, was the high cost associated with integrating any of these safety features into the shuttle's design. Open seats were projected at $10 million, encapsulated seats at $7 million, and the crew compartment option carried an astronomical price tag of $292 million. Consequently, none of these escape mechanisms were incorporated due to budget constraints and the perceived hugeness of the shuttle's design. Post the tragic Challenger disaster, the concept of an astronaut escape system was revisited. Several designs were contemplated, but once again, all of them faced rejection due to the formidable challenges involved in their practical implementation. The haunting question of crew escape lingered, revealing the intricate balance between safety measures and the economic realities of space exploration. The designated pilot for the NASA mission, known as STS-52L, was none other than Mike Smith, set to embark on his first and, unknown to him, final spaceflight. Smith held a unique position in history as he spoke the last recorded words among the Challenger crew. In a shocking prelude to the tragedy, the shuttle's voice recorder captured Smith uttering the phrase, "Uh-oh," a pitiful indication that at least one member of the crew sensed that something was amiss. On that morning at Cape Canaveral, Florida, 7 astronauts, including the inspiring mission specialist Ron McNair, were poised for liftoff, capturing the attention of a national audience. Ron McNair, having previously flown on the Challenger in 1984 and being the second African-American in space, had left a profound impact on Americans with his zero-gravity saxophone playing. Tragically, 2 years later, he became a victim of a national tragedy, leaving behind a legacy as one of the pioneering members of the Challenger crew. Cheryl McNair, Ron's wife, pays tribute to her husband's memory by encouraging children to delve into the realms of science and technology. These were the same skills that allowed Ron, hailing from humble beginnings in the South, to witness the Earth from above. He fluently described the view as beautiful, free from divisions or lines, and peaceful, a place where he believed the Lord intended humanity to reside, in a grove dedicated to exploration and discovery. The notable inclusion of a schoolteacher aboard Challenger added an extra layer of significance to the event, fostering excitement and camaraderie among the crew. Embarking on the awe-inspiring journey also was Judith Resnick, a pioneering astronaut born on April 5, 1949, in Akron, Ohio. After excelling in electrical engineering at Carnegie Mellon University and earning a PhD from the University of Maryland, Resnick left an indelible mark on the aerospace landscape. In the early 1970s, she showcased her brilliance at the RCA Corporation and the National Institutes of Health. Chosen as a NASA astronaut in 1978, Resnick became part of the first cadre to include women. Her historic moment came during Discovery's maiden flight in 1984, where she became the second American woman to orbit the Earth. Ronald McNair was the second of the 3 mission specialists aboard the Challenger spacecraft. Born on October 21, 1950, in the picturesque town of Lake City, South Carolina, McNair's story unfolds against the backdrop of his remarkable upbringing as the son of Carl McNair, Sr. and Pearl McNair. From the early days in segregated public schools, McNair's brilliance shone not only in academics, but also on the athletic field. His journey of triumph began as he navigated the challenges of a segregated education system. McNair's exceptional achievements culminated in being named valedictorian of his high school class, an affirmation of his academic prowess and determination. Ellison Onizuka, the final mission specialist, also brings his distinct expertise to the cosmic journey. Francis Dick Scobie, the spacecraft commander, leads the crew with seasoned authority, steering the course through the vast unknown. Adding a specialized touch to the mission is Gregory Jarvis, a payload specialist, entrusted with a crucial role in the payload deployment. Together, these individuals formed a dynamic ensemble, each with their skills and experiences contributing to the grand expedition beyond our earthly bounds. These fallen heroes have been dubbed the Challenger 7. In the aftermath of the Challenger disaster, there were immediate and fervent calls for a complete halt to the entire space shuttle program. This temporary suspension endured for a span of 3 years, during which NASA dedicated itself to incorporating the safety recommendations put forth by a distinguished presidential panel known as the Rogers Commission. The Rogers Commission, featuring iconic astronauts such as Neil Armstrong and Sally Ride, was assembled with the paramount objective of averting the recurrence of such catastrophic events in the future. Their collective expertise and insights aimed to enhance the safety protocols and address the systemic issues that had contributed to the Challenger tragedy. This intervention yielded substantial improvements in the safety measures governing space missions. While it couldn't bring back the fallen heroes, the comprehensive reforms and heightened safety standards served as a protective shield for the lives of subsequent astronauts. The Space Shuttle program, revitalized and fortified, emerged from this hiatus with a renewed commitment to ensuring the utmost safety and resilience in the pursuit of space exploration. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Let's explore the worst part of the Challenger disaster and how it isn't what you think it is. You see, the Challenger's journey held the promise of historical significance, primarily due to the inclusion of 37-year-old Christa McAuliffe in its crew. In her everyday life, McAuliffe was a social studies teacher at Concord High School in New Hampshire. However, her unique distinction arose from being chosen by NASA's Teacher in Space program, marking her as the first educator set to venture into the cosmos. Crafted to ignite inspiration among children and garner public attention for NASA, the ambitious plan envisioned McAuliffe's participation in orbit alongside the Challenger astronauts. Her role extended beyond the realms of traditional space exploration, as she aimed to impart educational lessons during the mission. McAuliffe's presence turned the launch into a media spectacle, capturing widespread attention. To amplify the educational impact, NASA generously provided numerous schools with a direct satellite feed, allowing thousands of school children, including McAuliffe's students, to witness the live broadcast. The anticipation among these young minds was palpable as they eagerly tuned in to watch the Challenger's voyage into the unknown. Tragically, the unfolding catastrophe took place before their eyes, leaving an indelible mark on the collective memory of those who had hoped for a moment of educational inspiration, but instead witnessed an unforeseen and heart-wrenching event. How do you think this tragic experience would affect the kids in their academic endeavors? A challenging recovery. As outlined in the Rogers Commission report, the mission to recover the Challenger tragedy started just an hour after the spacecraft's heartbreaking breakup. However, it wasn't until March 1986 that the crew's location was finally pinpointed. Off the Florida coast, hidden in the ocean's depths, two divers stumbled upon the crew cabin nestled on the seabed, approximately 100 feet below the water's surface. The scene they encountered was haunting, a landscape of twisted metal and wires entwined in the wreckage, shrouding the fate of the crew within. The divers, oblivious to the submerged reality until they glimpsed a spacesuit in the water, promptly marked the location and hurriedly ascended due to the dwindling air supply. The underwater discovery painted a chilling picture of the aftermath, adding layers of intrigue to the unfolding tragedy beneath the ocean's veil. The USS Preserver arrived the following day to retrieve the lost astronauts. As recounted by NBC News, this task was far from straightforward. The combination of the crash impact and the time spent underwater had taken a toll on their remains, necessitating complex and challenging recovery efforts. At times, the process involved removing the remains in parts. The recovery sequence began with Judy Resnick, followed by Christa McAuliffe. However, due to the chaotic and jagged nature of the cabin, it was decided that the entire structure needed to be lifted from the ocean floor. As a crane elevated the cabin towards the ship, an unexpected sight emerged. A splash of blue on the surface revealed Gregory Jarvis's jumpsuited body, freed during the lifting process. In a touching and disheartening turn, as the Preserver's crew looked on, Jarvis's body sank beneath the waves again. An immediate search ensued, with astronaut Robert Crippen even employing his boat to assist. However, Jarvis remained elusive for another 5 weeks, eventually found 200 yards from the initial loss location. The intricate and challenging recovery efforts unfolded as a testament to the complexities and difficulties faced in retrieving the crew's remains from the ocean depths. Was the crew conscious? The sorrowful tale of the Challenger didn't conclude a mere 73 seconds into its liftoff. The fragments of the spacecraft embarked on a haunting journey, soaring upward to an astounding altitude of 65,000 feet before descending back into the waters below. The cabin, the final refuge for the ill-fated crew, made a somber connection with the surface 2 minutes and 45 seconds post-breakup. Investigations hint at the crew's possible survival until this moment. Yet, a cloud of mystery envelops the state of their consciousness. According to NASA scientist Joseph Kerwin's detailed report, as the Challenger faced its catastrophic demise, the crew found themselves encased within the protective realm of the cabin. However, the likely breach of the cabin would have posed formidable challenges to their ability to breathe. The final report from fellow astronauts introduces an enigma. The crew might, but not definitively, have lost consciousness, even with the activation of emergency air bottles designed for terrestrial escape from a smoking vehicle. The heart-wrenching impact of the cabin with the water, hurtling at speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour, subjected it to an unimaginable force of about 200 gravitational forces. This force mercilessly crushed the structure, annihilating everything within. In the unsettling scenario where the crew lost consciousness, although the cabin might have temporarily retained air integrity, the uncertainty lingers. Could they have regained awareness as the air density increased during the harrowing final descent seconds? NASA's official tributes subtly pivot away from the nearly 3 minutes of continued flight after the initial shattering. The unsung moments following the breakup, fraught with uncertainty and the ghostly remnants of the Challenger's tragic journey, paint a haunting picture of the profound human cost beyond the fleeting seconds that captured the world's attention. The somber narrative etched by the Challenger and its fearless crew unfolds as a masterclass in the complexity of human existence and the delicate dance between ambition and reverence for life. Amidst the shattered dreams and the heart-wrenching loss of 7 valiant astronauts, a profound lesson surfaces, one that beckons us to dwell on the intricacies of our journey into the unknown. In the delicate drama of life, the Challenger disaster serves as a vivid thread, cautioning against the seduction of assumptions. It is a poignant revelation that even the most advanced endeavors, pursued with the noblest intentions, can unravel into tragedy when fueled by recklessness. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.